but blockchain is confusing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Could you explain that?
Sure. I mean, blockchain itself is almost a misnomer. So we're confusing.
Okay.
Things are confusing at every level, right? So we should start with the idea of a distributed ledger, which is basically like a distributed Excel spreadsheet or database. It's just a store of information which is not stored just in one place, but there's copies of it in a lot of different places. Every time my copy of it is updated, everyone else's copy of it has got to be updated. And then there's various bells and whistles like sharding, where it could be broken in many pieces, and each piece is stored many places or something. So that's a distributed ledger, and that's just distributed computing. Now, what makes it more interesting is when you layer decentralized control onto that. So imagine you have this distributed Excel spreadsheet or distributed database. There's copies of it stored in 1,000 places. But to update it, you need like 500 of those 1,000 people who own the copies to vote, yeah, let's do that update, right? So then you have a distributed store of data, and you have like a democratic voting mechanism to determine when all those copies can get updated together, right? So then what you have is a data storage and update mechanism that's controlled in a democratic way by the group of participants rather than by any one central controller. And that can have all sorts of advantages. I mean, for one thing, it means that, there's no one controller who can go rogue and screw with all the data without telling anyone. It also means there's no one who some lunatic can go hold a gun to their head and shoot them for what data updates were made, because it's controlled democratically by everybody, right? It has ramifications in terms of, legal defensibility. And I mean, you could have some people in Iran, some in China, some in the US, and updates to this whole distributed data store are made by democratic decision of all the participants. Then where cryptography comes in is when I vote, I don't have to say, yeah, this is Ben Goertzel voting for this update to be accepted or not. It's just ID number 1357264,
Right.
and then encryption is used to make sure that it's the same guy voting every time that it claims to be, without needing like your passport number or something, right?
What's ironic about it is it's probably one of the best ways ever conceived to actually vote in this country.
Yeah, sure.
It
would
is
be
kind of ironic.
There's a
right?
lot of applications for it. That's right. So that's the core mechanism. Now, where the blockchain comes from is like a data structure, where to store the data in this distributed database, it's stored in a chain of blocks where each block contains data. The thing is, not every so-called blockchain system even uses a chain of blocks now. Like some use a tree or a graph of blocks or something.
Is it a bad term? I mean, is there a better term?
It's an all right term.
Is it like AI? Like just one of those terms we're stuck with?
Yeah. It's one of those terms we're stuck with, even though it's not quite technically accurate. And I mean, anymore. I mean, because I don't know another buzzword for it, right? What it is it's a distributed ledger with encryption and decentralized control.
Yeah.
And blockchain is the buzzword that's come about for that. Now, what got me interested in blockchain really is this decentralized control aspect. So my wife, who I've been with for 10 years now, she dug up recently something I'd forgotten, which is a web page I'd made in 1995.
Whoa.
Like a long time ago, where I'd said, hey, I'm going to run for president on the decentralization platform, right? Which I'd completely forgotten that crazy idea. I was very young then. I had no idea what an annoying job being president would be, right? But the idea of decentralized control seemed very important to me back then, which is well before Bitcoin was invented, because I could see, a global brain is evolving on the planet, involving humans, computers, communication devices, and we don't want this global brain to be controlled by a small elite. We want the global brain to be controlled in a decentralized way. So,
Right.
so that's really the beauty of this blockchain infrastructure. And what got me interested in the practical technologies of blockchain was really when Ethereum came out, and you had the notion of a smart contract, which